Hello everyone, welcome to my presentation. My name is Zeynep. Today I will be presenting you about identifying aware activities in Portuguese and Turkish coursebooks. Here are the topics which I'm going to cover today. Firstly, introduction part, and I will share some suggested practices with you. Then I will explain the study's context, aims, methodology, and findings. Then we are going to make a conclusion. Let's start. Now, English is increasingly gaining ground as the major language of communication in the world. Therefore, it has attained the most taught and preferred foreign or second language worldwide. This phenomenon is linked to the increasing numbers of speakers of English who uses English as a second or foreign language for various purposes compared to English speakers who uses English as a first language. Consequently, English has a lingua franca between speakers of different first languages in most contexts. Until recently, English language teaching practices around the world has remained unaffected by the changes in the study of English as well as the developments in the area of English as a lingua franca. However, during the last decade, developments in the field of ELP have raised awareness of teachers, English language teachers, teacher trainers, teacher candidates, and other involved parties towards the necessity of thinking about what it means to learn, teach, and use a foreign language which no longer has a foreign language status. The design and context of language teaching materials are important from the perspective of developing learners' intercultural communicative competence. So, suggested practices by scholars regarding ELT materials include appropriate representation. Appropriate representation of the diversity of uses and users of English, and respecting the local culture of the context where its language is taught. Since coursebooks and other language teaching materials are designed with the expectation that language learners will become successful users of English, they should include examples of effective communication in various contexts. But these examples should not only exemplify communication between native speakers and non-native speakers, but also between non-native speakers. In most cases, successful interactions between non-native speakers are overlooked in ELT course books. When non-native varieties are addressed in a special chapter or section of course books, teachers tend to believe they are unnecessary or teach their students superficially as exotic examples. Nonetheless, a true app-aware approach should avoid one-size-fits-all perception of education, which is portraying an idealized native speaker. No, we don't have to be like native. So, what is this study's context and aims? English is, let's remember first the culture's three circles: inner, outer, and expanding circles. The inner circle consists of English speakers who uses English as a first language. The outer circle is English speakers who uses English as a second language, and the expanding circles consist of English speakers who uses English as a foreign language. Adopting this categorization, Turkey and Portugal, both countries are countries in the expanding circle. Also, in both countries, in English is the compulsory foreign language in the national curricula at primary and secondary levels of education. Furthermore, in both countries, the course books produced by local publishers and international publishers are extensively used. And in both countries, the English learned within the local culture and used in order to communicate with native speakers and non-native speakers. So you can see that they are similar in so many ways. And we were going to see the Turkish and Portuguese course books by local publishers and international publishers and their approach to the ELF awareness. This methodology that used in the study Firstly, the inner circles are divided into two sub-main categories, as British English and American English, others called other inner circle varieties. And the data analysis was conducted regarding two main variables. So we are going to focus two main things. First, we are going to compare two different educational contexts in the expanding circle. This means we are going to see two countries in the expanding circles and we are going to compare their educational context. Then we are going to compare how different publishers portray language and culture from an self-aware perspective. Let's look at the findings. Firstly, the native and non-native varieties. Film, movie, mobile, cell, pen friends, pen pals, we know these words and we are using them, but we are not sure about what they are belong to. And you can see this in the numbers too. When you look at the right side of the table, you are seeing use of language varieties. Table 1 shows the local publishers' coursebooks and Table 2 shows the international publishers' coursebook. This is Portuguese and this is Turkish coursebooks. You are seeing that use of language varieties is, they have numbers, but when it comes to referencing to language varieties, there is literally none. So we can say that even though we are using language varieties in both type of coursebooks, we are not referencing enough them. And as you can see, we are not learning and teaching enough them. Let's look at the native and non-native cultures. You see that in the table 3 and table 4, local publisher and inter-publishers coursebooks analyzed it, and in both Portuguese and Turkey, there are numbers. They are referencing the inner circle, outer circle, expanding circle, and local context to their culture. And culture can be so many things, to the food, to the manners. And if you remember, if I remember, there were some cultural things in our course books, like as an exercises or tests. There were some paragraphs about Cristiano Ronaldo, and another was about Japanese culture, for example. And you can see in the numbers that Turkish coursebooks are higher than Portuguese coursebooks, which is a good thing. But of course, there is not enough thing. We should always be doing more. And even our course's name is World Englishes and Culture, so we should pay attention to the culture, because when we are teaching a language, especially English, we should also teach the culture of its speakers. So let's make a conclusion. Firstly, we talked about the introduction. We made an introduction. We talked about some suggested practices. We refreshed our memories, like remembering the culture's 3 circles. I explained the methodology, and we saw some findings, and we can say that we are not referencing language varieties, even though we are using it. And we should, especially in the Portuguese coursebooks, we should mention about the cultures more. And this is the article. The article is by 3 Portugal and 4 Turkish students, and these are the references that I use when I'm preparing this presentation. This concludes my presentation. I hope I have been clear. Thanks for listening.